As we approach the halfway point of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge season, its best drivers are all set to go for its first American-based event of the campaign. Since 1955, some of the top racers in the world have been challenged by this specific one, known as Road America. Its monstrous 4-mile layout has remained relatively unchanged since its first event more than 60 years ago, with its long straightaways as well as its mix of tight, hard-braking sections and sweeping corners. Who will find their way onto the top step of the virtual podium at America's National Park of Speed? We're about to find out here on the Global SimRacing channel. Welcome everyone to today's edition of the GTR Countdown to Green, live from the virtual Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for round 5 of season 3 of Big C's MX-5 Challenge. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth today is John Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, his brother, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Today's pre-race coverage, once again, is presented by GTR Simulator. GTR's racing simulators are currently used as training aids for professional race car drivers. You too can learn to ace that braking, sharpen those corners, and shave off those vital seconds. Whether you're a professional driver or a gamer looking for a more immersive way to play, GTR has your back. Get started today at gtrsimulator.com. Now, John, this has been talked about by a few drivers in the weeks leading up to today's event. This is a big-time drafting track here on this schedule with multiple sections they can try and get runs to make passes. What else can you tell us about this Wisconsin-based road course?
Hey, Justin and my brother Sean, we're in Wisconsin, man. That's right. This beautiful, legendary asphalt track, 14 corners, a little over 4 miles in length, about 6.5 kilometers. These guys, as you said, Justin, they're going to have some long straightaways to get some draft, but really it's going to come down to who can outbrake who. So I look for Canada Corner to be one of those areas. Well, you can either make a move there or you can get moved there. So it's going to be difficult to kind of see where these guys go. Obviously, they have to get through that first corner on that first lap to make it happen for the rest of the race. But to take a look at this track firsthand, let's jump aboard the Mazda on the GSRC track guide.
All right, we've got Stefan Schlacker in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Road America. Down the front stretch, this is one of the prime places to use the draft to slipstream by your opponent. You can still try to outbrake them through turn 1, but it's so much easier to pass them on the straight. Plus, the exit of turn 1 can sometimes catch drivers out by clipping the grass and sending them spinning to the opposite wall. From there, you've got a slight downhill into turn 3. This is one of the most important corners on the track because of it leading onto the moraine sweep. You really don't want to overdrive your entry because it'll leave you a sitting duck on the way down to 5. You'll essentially just straighten out the stretch here, so we'll skip this part and jump to the braking for the next corner. Here at 5, the little bit of a kink in the downhill entry makes it very easy to outbrake yourself. In fact, a lot of race-ending accidents happen on the first lap when things get stacked up here. After that, you climb back up towards 6. The crest right at the entry makes it a very narrow margin of error to hit the fast line. Plus, you won't be able to spot your apex until you're pretty committed. That takes us towards turn 7, which is easily flat out in the MX-5, but I still wouldn't advise trying it too wide. Now, as we come through the hurried downs, you've reached turn 8. This offers chances for a sneak attack because of it being a relatively slow corner. If someone is tucked up behind you, keep your guard up. Immediately, you've got to switch sides to set up for the carousel. As in every car, patience is required to not let it drift out into the marbles and dirt. And yet, because the MX-5 isn't that high-powered, squaring off the exit is going to be critical to a good lap. Fail to keep your momentum and everyone's gonna be on the attack. But before you hit the fastest part, you've got to swing through the kink, which is also flat out in the Miata. Just pray that you don't catch traffic and get slowed up. Jumping forwards to the end of the kettle bottoms, the braking for Canada Corner tends to cause accidents through miscommunication or just plain coming in too hot. This is where you finally leave the thick woods and return to the sunshine of Bill Mitchell Bend. The car likes to get squirrely over this blind crest, and you could find yourself with some serious damage if you overcorrect the car. You won't have much time before you're chucking it into the final corner. This is another one where I'd advise not overdriving the entry. The front stretch is the longest straight on the circuit, and it has this crazy steep uphill climb to boot. Every ounce of speed that you can get from the engine of the MX-5 will count. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Road America.
That was Joe Peak on the mic for your GSRC lap guide here from Road America. You're looking at Torres, who dropped out of the top 5 in points after Silverstone last week. Let's take a look at those standings now and see how they shake up. Coming into today, it's very tight for the championship. Robert Hartley has just a 3-point advantage over Brandon Hawken and 4 points over Racine Fazuli. Of course, those drivers finished 1, 2, 3 in reverse order in the standings last week. Fazuli, the only driver to win more than one event so far this season. Marcel Pagenaud, though, had a rough one last week. 23 points back and a tie for 4th now with Alan Catali. The Italian driver ended up finishing with a crash early on, having to take the quick repair, finished 22nd. Catali, meanwhile, led a lap and then also finished 6th at Silverstone. So the question is, how are these drivers going to fare out? Let's quickly look over the race details here, John, because there's a few things to go over for those just tuning in for the first time at the midway point of the season.
Yeah, it is midway point for these guys. Round 5 of 10 here at Road America. Race length's going to be 40 minutes. These guys will have to pit once. So what will that strategy look like? Well, I'm sure that some of these team drivers have that figured out and working through that right now. The setups on these cars are fixed. So outside of brake bias and steering ratio, they're all driving the same exact setup. So if you see a driver pulling away from another, it may be due to just that, out driving or out braking them. No incident cap for these guys. That doesn't mean, you don't want to go off to the track and get those points, but it's more so for the penalty of losing time. Top 15 are only scored points for this series. So that's going to be interesting as well. So you kind of have a race within a race. 2 fast repairs. These guys can get 2 new cars at their leisure if there happens to be a wreck. But I don't think we'll see that this evening. This track is big, and these guys have experience.
And we've seen in many cases, though, throughout the season, if you use at least one of those for an incident at a majority of the tracks, it takes you out of contention for sure. As the drivers continue to qualify right now, 19 total have put in official time, 17 up in the pylon, now up to said 19. But the time difference, 2:32 for the pole sitter at the moment. Robert Hartley, that is half a second quicker than Juan Manuel Fernandez. At the bottom of the pylon, drivers are in the 3-minute mark still as they continue to try and circulate it around the racetrack. We talked about it a little bit just before the lap guide here today. The draft could be very crucial today with so many long sections, and that is the case as well for qualifying. We've seen with some of these drivers, like Fernandez, who is right now amongst a chain of 5-6 drivers just to give or take. John.
Yeah, sorry there, Justin. This is the first time being a part of this series, so I'm kind of in a learning curve. But, I'm watching these guys go around to qualify. And as you mentioned, I see a lot of similar cars, meaning team drivers. They're actually using themselves to kind of pick and draft off of each other to lay down some good times. So maybe that's the norm here in this league. But these guys are obviously searching for speeds, as you mentioned, 2:32 all the way down to 3 minutes. That's a big disparate gap between the front runners and the back qualifiers currently.
Especially with now 43 cars estimated to start the race here today. But you mentioned the importance on top of that, though, with the corners. That's what separates the drivers that are good in a straight line compared to the best drivers, which are the ones able to wheel it around the tight section. There's a few different danger zones. Coming out of the Moraine sweep into turn 5, one of them. The run from the Road America straight into the right-hander in turn 1. And we've already seen a crash in qualifying in the carousel involving some of the OTR cars. So there's a couple different crazy spots that might potentially catch some drivers out and are being prime passing positions to take advantage of mistakes.
Yeah, Justin, let's not also forget the kink. Watch for these cars get that left rear tire off in that grass, and when they do, boy, that can literally stop the train of vehicles coming out of the bend in the carousel there into 11.
And you'll, of course, mention the Canada corner as well. So there's a lot of potential spots that can catch some of these drivers here. You see some of them still trying to record their qualifying times. Yaroswal amongst the drivers currently looking to get on the board. Let's see if there's an official time this time. Current lap 2:34. Yes, indeed. However, that's the back part of the field around the high 20s. Meanwhile, Fazuli looking to get a good qualifying lap in amongst some of the top contenders in the championship this season. This time a 2:33.642. That puts him up in the top 5 for the time being. Lindroff is also working now with teammates, in fact. Tirho helps him with the draft. That puts him up to second. Christian Lindroff with a 2:33.397 with the help of the draft job. And Brian Sabalski is also amongst the drivers on the track. This driver, however, going straight up the pit entry. That brings up the next point, though, as Hartley comes around the racetrack as well on another flying lap attempt, this time on his own, though. The drivers, as mentioned, the fuel is only 12.5 liters, 3.3 gallons many times. The drivers, we're talking about the fuel, they might have to add 2 to 2.5 gallons to make it to the end once they have to come down and refuel their tanks. And of course, could be very crucial on who contends for this race victory. Seeger and Watts coming across the stripe are 18th and 16th now in qualifying in that grouping, for example. And you want to be a part of that lead group, John, to have a chance and not be drivers like Wyndon Swaby, who just ended off in the grass.
Yeah, you mentioned about the fuel and the pitting there, Justin. We also have to be mindful, and these drivers have to be extremely careful when they pit and exit onto this track. It's at the point where these drivers that are staying on track are setting up for turn one. If these guys come out of the pits, as we're watching right now, they could affect not only one, but possibly up to 4 cars going into turn one in their braking line.
Yeah, this is Zachary Rivard you're seeing here, and you're going to see that right now. Of course, there's the uphill for the pit entry that makes it difficult. Plus, it's a long delta overall to get in there. Then you mentioned they're getting right into the racing line. You're going to see that exit, say with this white MX-5 popping up, that is Simon Apoldi. Right into the racing line. These drivers are going to be exiting the pit lane, which will make it very difficult if you're, say, on an extra lap or two, and you end up side by side with the driver right out of the pits. That can cause potential trouble.
Yeah, it's not only that, Justin, but you're looking for your visual cues and your marks for braking. When you see something to the right of you that you don't normally see, it's something that's a dynamic target, it affects mentally that aggression of that braking. So these guys have to stay focused. They also have to execute that throttle control carefully, getting out some of these tight corners.
Absolutely. This is going to be an interesting race. There's still 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock for the qualifiers. Hartley still on the provisional pole. Lindroff, Eben, Tyler Maxson in 4th, and Juan Manuel Fernandez round out the top 5. As you see, Eben right now in that top 3 position. Was in a points-paying spot last week before he had some trouble in the last lap, had fuel issues. In that 55 for Ashbury Motorsports, will be looking to try and recover some more points today.
Yeah, Justin, we're starting to see that the field now kind of tighten up on times. First, we got a 2:32, about a 2:33, let's just say. And back in 25th, we've got a 2:36. So we're within 3 seconds of the front runners all the way back to 30th. So this is going to be an interesting race. It's going to be a tight race. So I'm excited to see the start of this.
I'm curious here too. Again, we've seen how important it is to be a part of that lead group here, especially with these MX-5s, and today might be no exception with some of the potential opportunities. More drivers continuing to cycle around the racetrack. Some of them still in the 2:35s that say are the lead groups. But again, those drivers that are tucked in behind are in a better situation for a draft. Ryan Sabalski didn't have anyone here towards the line. That's going to be a very looks to be, pardon me, an outlap for that machine. But a lot of the drivers have set themselves up with about a minute to go in the session here. This is going to get curious. The time difference, as you mentioned, 1st to 15th, just about 2 seconds now is that gap. Drivers like Apalding, though, are still looking to put a time on the board at least. They will have at least one more opportunity, 30 seconds on the clock in that VRS-sponsored machine, 2:48. That is one of the slowest of the qualifying session, 31st best. And also amongst the drivers yet to set a time is Nico Kakko. who now comes across the stripe, along with this green and red Mazda. So everyone continues to try and set some times. That is Kristen Minkel, who comes across in 8th spot now on the board. Last time did not count, but just got bumped to 9th this time by because a couple other drivers were in a drafting train across the stripe. Pagnon up to the provisional pole. You see the fastest time on the right side of your screen, a 2:32.8, a 10th quicker than Hartley. And I think that came down to the draft again, John, because that green and white and black machine came at the right spot at the right time for him to put himself to the top of the...
Yeah, it really did. And you know, Hartley's just, I think Pagnon literally did it with 1/10 of a second left on the qualifying time. So that was pretty amazing.
Tirho also looking to try and up a time. He's in the back part of the top 20. Joshing with teammates. This time puts him to 6th provisionally with the drafting help, that time of Lindroth. So Lindroth helping teammates. Nico also moves up in the 85 to P number 4. So a group of teammates work together while Fernandez goes to the top of the board in the dying parts of the session. More drivers still trying to set times. Just 6 total have yet to have an official one here, John. Some of these drivers, though, wanting to not start in the 30s.
Yeah, you talked about that draft early on, Justin. Obviously, you can see it play into huge effect here during qualifying.
And it's continuing to be huge. Powell Somatic just moved up into the top 5. Lindroth's been bumped down to 6. Drivers are joining a crash party into turn number 1, while there is still a few more drivers that have the opportunity to set official lap times to bump themselves up the starting grid. The next group coming across the stripe involves Watts, Rivard, for the back car of Sabine Paulding, who is in 36, had a 2:48 last time by. This time should be much more better. We'll have to see if it's going to be enough, though. Paulding across the stripe, not an official time, hit the grass, it looks like, somewhere around the course. So that's going to be a rough starting position, 38th provisionally. Ashley Beard also going to have tough starting position in 20th spot, was also in that said group. But the last of the drivers coming across the stripe as they continue to lock things on down here. The last drivers to come down, Pagnon trying to set the pole time. Will the draft be enough to bump him on top of the board once more? No, it is not. Not able to jump the 2:32.6 by Fernandez. That is the last driver to record a time on the track. Everyone else has set their official times on the circuit. All of that was to set up the SimRacing Studio starting grid for today's action. Want to enhance your sim racing experience but don't feel like spending hours doing it? SimRacing Studio creates plug and race sim racing accessories and software to enhance your experience without any DIY effort. Go to simracingstudio.com for more information. So drivers given about 30 seconds now until they get ready for the starting grid. It looks like Jonas Seeger is actually squeezed in barely in time along with Kip Stevens. However, Stevens has hit the grass here. But before we get things going here, what are your quick thoughts before we take the green lights and get rushing down the Road America straight to turn 1?
Well, quick thoughts, turn 14. That's going to be the key of this race. You've got to enter and exit that corner perfectly to get that long run down the straightaway and to get speed and be able to draft and pass into 1.
And we'll have to see who gets that speed into 1 and who is able to come through cleanly here. As we get all set to go, let's take a look at your starting grid for round 5 of Season 3 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. Your pole setter, Juan Manuel Fernandez, will lead them into turn 1, with Marcel Pagnon in 2nd spot. The points leader, Robert Hartley, will start in 3rd position, with Nico Awimomi starting in the 4th position. Powell Somatic starts in 5th with Christian Lindroth in the 6th spot. Clifford Eben will start in 7th with a 2:33.4, with Jan Tirho, Tyler Maxson, and the driver 3rd in the standings, Racine Fazuli, rounding out the top 10 starting positions here, John.
Justin in 11th, Melina Mann, and outside of Melina Mann, Christian Nickley. Juan Damas Torres in 13th, and Kip Stevens in 14th. Jacob Werteke in 15th. Jaroslav Subila in 16th. Miroslav Nostalski in 17th. Owen Watts in 18th. In 19th, it's Zachary Rivert and Jonas Sager in 20th.
Ashley Beard will have to start in 21st in the 234 bracket. Also in that bracket is Paul Kalamik in 22nd. Nico Kako will start in 23rd. Alex Moss, a front runner usually in the top 10, will start 24th though today. Nick Cardy's in 25th. Anthony Burrows 26th. Brian Zabalski in 27th. Lee Martin, Peter Vostro, Michael Valls, and Tiho Rasmussen rounds out the drivers around that top 30 bubble. The rest of the position cycle on your screen, 44 total drivers set to be in the field today. 3 drivers did not record qualifying times though, as they set up on the starting grid and wait for the green lights as they look to rush their way into turn number 1 down the Road America straight. Once a lot of the drivers in the back though should note Alan Catali, second to last in qualifying. He'll have a lot of cars to go through. The green lights are off. The green lights are going. We're off and away from Road America. And Fernandez already up by 2-3 car lengths off the starting gun. Pagnon quickly cutting off Robert Hartley as they look to dive their way into the first corner. Most drivers able to get quickly single file. The first dive bomb just behind where Fazuli is. Eben pushed off the racing line, moves outside the top 10.
Yeah, these guys behind the top 10 here, Justin, they're getting through these corners. Great start for a lot of these drivers. As we see just a little spin off track there out of turn 3. But they're maintaining, staying on track. We're going 3 wide here down the Moraine sweep.
Fabian Ponce as well as Cunningham also had some issues in the first corner. One of the drivers having to take the tow. The drivers going down to an Earhart braking zone out of the Moraine sweep. Driver cycling through, driver wanting to go for third spot. That is Nico diving his way up to P3, opening up the revolving door on Hartley, as Semanek also forces his way through underneath the Corvette bridge as they work their way down to the Hurry Downs.
Yeah, this is a fast right-hander here, Justin. As they come down, they're going to be dropping from 5th gear all the way down into 1st gear in this hard left-hander in 5.
And you can see them go through in that quick left-hander. Couple more drivers having issues in the Hurry Downs in the 30s, but for the most part, top 20 onward has been very clean so far as they work their way through the carousel. You see them run their way single file majority of the field and keeping it calm as they head their way down towards the Bend and the King. The quick right-hander that leads them to the Cattle Bottoms. Already 4th and 5th for trying to bump draft a little bit here. That is Semanek that's working now on the back bumper of the 85 machine and trying to find a way around into Canada Corner. Has to go back single file though as they continue to file the way towards the final part of the racetrack.
Yeah, these guys are single file here for the first 4 miles, it looks like, Justin. But you can bet right here out of 14. We talked about it earlier. Let's see who gets the great launch out of 14. Look at Morga in second. Boy, he's just putting the pounding on pounds.
Absolutely right now. Potts and Morga, by the way, are the drivers that have taken quick repairs and towed trucks in the race. Everybody else continuing to go. An estimated 16 laps to go here. 40 minutes once again on the clock as per usual, with Fernandez leading the way through the first major drafting lap of the race. Pagnon to the right side takes the quick race lead away. Fernandez just gives him the spot. Also drafting by was Lindroff to get by Robert Hartley. A couple others also cycling around, so drivers already taking the fuel strategy and thinking about it early on before they head to the second drafting section of the track.
Yeah, if you're back there, now would be a good time. Obviously, Justin, you're going to get clean traffic. You can kind of race the track and not the individuals around you, so maybe a good strategy for those guys.
And that's a major key thing, though, is if you're the lead car, you end up losing a lot of fuel. Pagnon, though, having Fernandez want the lead back, gives it right back to him as he tries to take the aggressive / defensive line. However, able to file back to second. Third, though, up for grabs again. Arby Lomi trying to battle with Semanek. Semanek backs off, though, and gives him the spot. Nearly cuts off the nose and overruns the corner, trying to keep in front of Lindroff. That was just behind all of that for 4th position. That was near trouble for Semanek. take a look now at Lindra from the back bumper, separated by just a couple car lengths. And while it's been calm for the most part in the top two, with the most aggression so far early on, Sean, has been fifth on.
It really has. You know, we talked about the first two. Obviously, Fernandez and Pagnon, they're giving and taking, and that's really what you need to do to kind of separate yourself from the guys behind them who are fighting fiercely.
Also trying to fight, Molina Man fighting with Yom Damas Torres. Remember, Torres was a top 5 driver in the point standings before Silverstone, and is now trying to play some defense here, trying to keep this spot for 11th on the racetrack and try and keep up with Evan. Takes the defensive line into Canada corner, actually late breaks his way in and follows on behind as a few other drivers are now getting held up just in front of him. As you see there, 4 other cars are shuffling. Terho's actually shuffling for the top 10 and is forcing side-by-side action right in front of Evan and next to Maxson. You see that now heading out of turn 14 from the Bale Metro Bend and down the Road America straight. Best exit though was out of Maxson. And you're seeing on board from Tiro here, that all though allowed the drivers behind to keep up now and actually lost Evan some momentum. The battle for the lead shaking up here as well going into turn 1. Hajnon drafts on by, while Ari Lomi moves up to second. Overruns turn 1 though as he goes off in the grass. Fernandez moves to the right side. We'll get the position right back.
Yeah, just I'm watching this battle here. We've got Zemanek and Hartley just literally banging the doors off of each other. Earlier the lap in the Canada corner, they both slammed the door. Zemek is driving defensively, causing Hartley to kind of have to pick a new line.
And Hartley's actually fallen back to 6th with this. As you look on board with Zemanek from the back end, you can see him actually trying to break the toe and touch on the outside line. Hartley dives his way to the inside line. Looking to get that spot back, gives him the squeeze. They're 3 wide off the corner out of the Maurienne sweep into turn 6. Fernandez has lost a ton of time all of a sudden, while Hartley slides his way right by Fernandez, who goes on the grass and squeezes Zemanek on the exit.
Boy, Hartley was the benefactor there through those 2 corners, Justin.
Yeah, that was craziness there and a lot of aggression. Look who's moving up though. Fuzuli, major dive bomb just behind from Maxson, also moves him alongside in the Fury Sim Sport machine. That is a new additional Yataco car we're seeing for one of the first times this season. That's running side by side with the red and green machine of Christian Milky. Mikkel, rather I should rather say, as we continue to roll along. There's an incident though heading out of turn 8. Multiple drivers having trouble. Jonas Seeger amongst the drivers involved. This is on the exit of Hurry Downs that has collected a few drivers just on the exit of the top 20.
Yeah, Owen Watts involved in that.
And we'll have to take a look at this, and we'll see it from Seeger. He is one of the drivers that first brought this up. We'll go a little bit further back. This is coming out of the Hurry Downs in turn 8 here, John.
Yeah, he just, you know, the guy behind him didn't brake soon enough, caused the spin, and we're going to see another car get collected. Ooh, right there.
Horrible luck for Seeger. And that's enforced a black flag as well. First one of the day for Jakob Wydurka for that incident. So a few drivers at least are going to have to take fast repairs here. And force someone up at the front though, as that's all shaken up. Hajnon has pulled away a gigantic margin from the battle for second spot on the racing surface.
Well, we talked about Hartley earlier, banging the doors with Paul Semenik. He's in second right now, and boy, he just passed 2 team drivers going down that front straightaway.
Yeah, all that double file action we were seeing there coming out of turn 6 and whatnot, that ended up helping with Pagnon getting this giant advantage now and had the fastest lap on the track last time. It's up to 1 second, and he's just about broken the toe. And with these Mazda MX-5s, John, it's so critical to do that, because if you do, it can potentially win you the race or really set yourself up to be in contention to do so.
Yeah, you know, and again, he's there driving the track.
And Torres is driving the car past other machines and saying, while we're on a track, he wants positions on said track. That moves him up to 11th once more. But the more they do moves like that, the more time they lose, up to potentially half a second, a quarter potentially, with how aggressive we've been seeing some of these battles. Sabala, who's just in front of them, mind you, was 13th last time by. That's how many positions he gained from the shuffling. See them now run along the carousel. Looks like that time Mikkel has had a rough carousel that time. Not losing momentum. Kip Stevens also reeling back in. As you see that, those drivers for 10th and 11 try and draft their way forward. The next group is Eben, Maxon, and Tirho on the racetrack with 30 minutes to go on the clock this time. An estimated 12 laps on the circuit as well. But as this is all shuffled along...
Oh, we got a spin going into Canada corner. Hard hit there in the braking zone.
And as Mikkel, that is the 65 who was in 11th. Remember I mentioned Stevens? Looks like made some slight contact, and it sends him hard into the into the Armco barrier into Canada.
Yeah, he got hit in the right rear and just spun him to the left there in the braking zone.
Now let's take a look here, and you're going to see it. Tried to take a defensive line, then got back to the racing line, and then, boop, into the Armco he goes. And that's going to be potential faster. So that's going to be a lot of lost track position. Either way, he is now in the pit lane as well with that. P2 is also continuing to shake up. They have reeled in the lead with their draft about a second or so. However, it is still an aggressive battle amongst these drivers. You see them all scrapping out and trying to sort themselves out as they head down towards the Orient sweep. And they're going to have lap traffic as well. That is Peter Vostro, who is off the pace, who forced them 3 wide for a split second, with Lindroff now having to defend 3 lines instead of 2. Hartley nearly went off in the grass and backed out of that mess.
Yeah, you saw Hartley there hit the brakes, Justin. He had a car just come across his front nose, and he had nowhere to go outside in the grass.
And I think that's also smart racing too here, John, on where while you like to gain as many spots as possible, if you're over-aggressive, that could potentially end your race or lose you a lot of time to take you out of contention.
Yeah, he's racing for the big picture there, Justin.
One driver that has been somehow doing both at the same time. We've seen the same thing at Silverstone. Racine Fazuli has now gone up into 4th spot, has been climbing up the board, +6 since the drop of the green flag today. And this is a very intriguing driver and a very quick driver that we've been learning a lot more of with his name this season. He has continuously done this. Had that more than 30, 40 plus gain situation at Monza, and now this today. And on top of that, Silverstone had lost some track position gain and ended up leading the most laps overall though.
Yeah, this is where being a single driver and not a team driver comes into as a hindrance as they come in through 13 here into 14. Coming down the straightaway, you got 2 team drivers obviously trying to push each other, but they can also be the pick that blocks the car that's trying to pass them. And so for someone like Fazuli or Hartley trying to make a move, this can be different.
Oh,
and the leader
car in the pit
is
lane.
in the pits.
So this is a very different strategy. We've seen Catali actually pit in the 20s last time by. So Marcel Pagenaud has also fallen into a different strategy. About, I'd say, 7, 8, 9 plus minutes more than we're used to seeing for a fuel strategy situation. There's 11 estimated laps to go here. We've only ran a couple circuit.
Yeah, again, he's, obviously had that lead there for a little bit, Justin. Maybe he's thinking, look, these guys behind me are fighting. Let me get my fuel now. Let's get out there in a clean track and I can run my own race, as we see the battle intensely amplifying here going down Morian Sweep.
Seen the car on the jacks, the battle also shifting around, but at the same time, he was the lead car now by more than a second. Plus, you burn a lot of fuel by doing so. And now it looks like he's thinking, I want to get the strat fuel just in case that is the situation. This would be a major high-risk, high-reward situation. as now that puts Lindroff as the lead car in the draft. Fazuli, Hartley, Samanek, as well as Arwi Lomi are in this group. Tirho is also hanging on by a thread. So a 6-car train is trying to find its way forward more so.
Yeah, Justin, I think Fazuli, he's the man on the move. He's got the fastest lap so far. He is running smart, clean laps, and he's got Hartley in tow. And Hartley is no fool. We've seen him through the first few laps here race smart, give up a position, and then obviously get it back and 2 more with it.
And we're seeing from off Fazuli now, had a slight bobble, in fact, I think, out of the carousel to allow Hartley in about a 10th of a car length, but he has been one of the fastest drivers all season. Remember, won the season opener in a wild one at Summit Point, then had to bump and bang his way with Hawkin to take the checker flag at Silverstone. And now he's got a chance to try and potentially shuffle his way forward to the lead, depending on how he plays it, if he so wants it. Because as we've seen, the strategy window is open, with an estimated 10 laps to go this time and 25 minutes just under on the clock in this one. Lindroff taking the higher arc through the exit of Bill Mitchell Bend. We'll see if anyone decides to follow Pagenaud's lead here this time. Lindroff tries to go in. Yes, indeed. Hartley stays out. Everybody else goes in. Fazuli tries to cut to the grass and makes contact.
Oh my goodness, took out both of them, the leader.
What was he thinking? Torres is involved. This is a big incident. He's already admitted that was a major mistake, but a major bad mistake.
Let's take the replay here, Justin. Obviously, there was a fake there, and, you know, Hartley was already committed to stay out on the track.
I don't know what Fazuli was thinking. Take a look at this from Torres' view, because he's now lost a motor from... Had no idea there was a car there, John.
Yeah, let's see if we can get on board with the... Fazuli.
Okay, let's first look up at Hartley, because he had to deal with a car jumping in the air that hit him in the quarter panel and sent him off into the wall.
We see
again, that was the weirdest decision I've seen in a while.
Yeah, Fazuli decided to go back onto the track. Unfortunately, there was no track to the left of him. So he did the Baja 500 move and just, well, it wasn't successful for neither Hartley or Fazuli.
That's going to have a major amount of championship implications, to say the very least. Hartley is now within a drafting group at least. However, he lost a lot of time, the 2-time series champion, from that. He is now to 3rd on the track and has essentially lost all the advantage of trying to stay out there and try and stretch an extra lap. Now, he's also having to wheel a damaged race car. This is going to really scramble things until he can get that faster pair. But I don't think it's obvious he's not going to be a part of this league group anymore from that situation.
Well, luckily he hasn't pitted. He was the one that decided to stay out. So when he does come in to get that pit stop, he can get that fast repair and hopefully try to make some spots up. He's currently 3rd. He's actually in a good spot considering what just happened.
Yeah, he's still lucky to be in the top 3. The problem is, once he pits, he's not going to be, because remember, these were the cars around him that were... Sabala was around the top 10, but drivers like Beard, etc., have been running around the teens for much of the race today, so this is a large deficit that he might have to try and overcome here. The gap to the drivers who pit, 31 to 34 seconds. Man is amongst the drivers in this group, falling on board with Man. You watch as they come in, Hartley and Man. Man, the more aggressive of the 2 on the entry.
Well, you talked about the time and the delta difference here, Justin. Let's see what the times are from cone to cone here as they pit.
Now, Pagenaud has actually jumped the lead by 3 seconds with that undercut move where he pit on his own from all the shuffling. So it's going to be curious to see if he does that. He is coming down the Road America straight. He is on his own as well. The drafting group is 3 seconds back. So Marcel will retake the race lead and look to get himself back into the championship window. Hartley is going to be way far back compared to the 22. Hartley is going to lose a lot of time from that. Fazuli done for the race, while the 34 comes out of the pit lane. Nearly came across the nose of Stevens, in fact. Kip Stevens nearly had him more. But either way, that puts him way far down the running order. Hartley 18th on the track, behind some drivers still that have to pit, but he's going to have to somehow find a way to close up 15 plus seconds.
Yeah, he's currently 8th in position of the people that have pitted so far. So we still have the top 8 that have not pitted. So look for Hartley to kind of make his moves now with these cars and get in that draft, as we see right here, going 3 wide.
And we're hearing Swaby's just had an issue. The 100 machine has had a problem, and you see him in the tires. We'll take a look at this one. Still struggling to get going. This was the 8th place car at the time. Gonna have to go a moment further back because it took him at least 10-15 seconds to get rolling from this.
Yeah, you can see here he's braking. It looks like he went in too hot and got on the gas on the, and just got T-boned there.
It looks like the damage is mostly on the nose from the tire barrier, so the T-bone didn't have significant amount. He will, of course, still have to come in and pit. However, that's going to be more lost time for that driver, because you've seen how long it took him to find an opening to hit the gas again.
Our leader's in the pits right now, Sabula.
So drivers are still coming in, as mentioned. 8 estimated to go. Sabala coming in. Natashnik also coming in. Was 3rd at the stripe. Ashley Beard staying out an extra time by. We also have Cunningham joining them in, while the net leader is ready to pass on by. Carty's also coming in. Kako also coming in this time by. While Pagnon has already caught up to the drivers at the end of the stay out window, with Sabalski going to be able to help Pagnon save fuel here for these next couple laps. And this could be critical here because remember, he tried the undercut, John, meaning he could be closer on fuel. This might actually be the difference of making it or winning the race here on this difference, as Sabalski slides his way through turn 1 and Pagnon says, I need to go. Please let me go on the right side, and moves his way to the bottom and passes in on the bottom.
Yeah, with just a little bit over 18 minutes left here, Justin, obviously we're seeing the sun go down. Hopefully that doesn't mean the tempers go up. The headlights are on. The track surface is remaining at a 78 degrees. So
trouble for Evan. Evan is all over the racetrack. Really missed the exit, entrance, and apex that time of turn 2 and 3. And nearly sent himself to the tire barrier. Look at the temps at the top. But we're going to take a look at the replay as well, because he nearly lost the car a couple different spots that time. Take a look. And you can see how easy it was. He just missed the entrance, and it just sent him into a whirlwind for the rest of the... And Hartley also passed by him, in fact, John, because of that mistake. So that moves Hartley now up into 8th overall in the track, net P6.
Yeah, we still have Ashley Beard out on the track and who's not pitted yet, as well as Brian Sabelski. So Marcelo Pagnon, he is running this race right now.
Yeah, the lead, though, is starting to shrink a little bit. It's still about just around 3 seconds, but it has gone down a couple tenths or so. The thing is, though, is there going to be enough time, potentially? Because Lendroff, Samanik, and Tierho are all working together in their drafting group now, trying to reel in the 22, who is now on his lonesome on the racetrack. What do you think, John? What do you do if you're this driver?
Well, you do exactly what he's doing. Outside of, he's got to be careful of turn 7. That has been his Achilles heel, Justin. He makes mistakes and goes wide through there and off onto the grass. If he does, he loses valuable time. So if he can get 7 down as the sun is going down, then I think he can hold on to a victory here.
Also have to think about, though, trying to have a mistake-free race. The thing is, though, he's running 234 flats. Lindroff is only a couple tenths quicker. That is currently P4. That is currently now side by side with Lindroff having to deal with Tierho, who's already past Semanek, and is trying to make the move to the lead car of the group, instead losing some time. The more those drivers do that, though, here, John, the more unlikely they might be able to even have a shot to reel in Pagenaud here, because the gap has actually grown a couple tenths from that side by side.
Unless Marcelo has issues with lap cars, it's quite a bit of ways up before they get to him. We've got 15 minutes left of this event. If he gets stuck or hindered behind these lap cars, then someone like, Lindroff or Tierho, they could actually have a good day.
I think so. This is going to be a great points day for them, absolutely. Remember, only the top 15 earn points. This would be, for a couple of them at least in this grouping, their best performances in points all season. The driver that stayed out the longest, though, so far is Ashley Beard. Right now, Ashley Beard is up by 28 seconds from Pagenaud. Zabalski is also staying out of the racetrack. It started 27th. We're going to take a look at Beard here. This is one of the Excite Racing machines. At this point, I'm surprised Beard has lasted this long and decided to be on this time. The thing is, though, John, Beard's going to be able to take less fuel in that race car in the pit stop.
Going to be able to take less fuel, but really has nothing to lose by doing what they're doing right now, and that is staying on the track.
Remember, the net gap is about 46 to 48 seconds in the pits. It looks like Beard has reached the limit of the fuel tank, and we'll get those jugs filling back up the Mazda MX-5. Into the pit lane goes the overall race leader. Tierho's got some trouble, though. Tierho and Semanek having issues. This was in kettle bottoms. And what was the mention about the kink you said? About the dangers of it? Looks like the kink exit bit 3 cars.
Oh, and all 3 teammates.
That is unlucky. Take a look at this from above, John. This is unfortunate for this group.
Yeah, we talked about at the top of the show. You get that left rear in that grass, and you're going for a ride.
And you can see contact for the front car, from the middle car in the grass, and all 3 teammates taken out of contention. Good points hauls for them. It's gone. So that gives Marcelo now a 9.7 second lead over, guess who? Robert Hartley. So Marcelo's in a great position all of a sudden if he can keep the car clean for about 5+ laps.
Yeah, Hartley's got a lot of drivers there breathing back on his back of his neck there. We have the leader from early on, Juan Manuel Fernandez, in 4th right now behind Nico.
And you see that grouping now, Fernandez, along with Arwi Lomi, as well as Hartley, as mentioned, in that said group. Again, this is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th now on the racetrack, but while they were the fastest on the track last time by Hartley specifically, last gap was a little bit more manageable. This might be a bit daunting with about an estimated 5.5 to go this time, as Fernandez has a rough time getting around Fabian Pons and loses a ton of time to the draft group.
Yeah, Hartley picked up where he left off, turning great lap times. What a recovery for him this evening, especially from a point standpoint.
Yeah, it's been a good recovery, I have to say, for Hartley. Again, this 2-time champion. And Hartley is getting a bit loosey-goosey as you look for the back bumper. Drifted his way, actually, that entire way to the carousel. The back tires were drifting a touch that whole time. But again, the gap is about 4 or 5 car lanes from Arwi Lomi. Arwi Lomi now the highest ranked OTR car after that incident involving the 3 teammates. Arwi Lomi looking to try and make the move, checks up instead. Likes not to push the issue into Canada corner this time. As they try and push forward, 9.5 seconds to go to the race leader and Pagenaud, with 11 minutes and 15 seconds to go on the clock.
Yeah, if you're Nico, Justin, you're comfortably there in 3rd, right behind Hartley, with just a little bit right at 11 minutes left of this race, you kind of hang back there and kind of see where the weak points, if Robert has any, where his weak points are, and then make your move on that last lap. Obviously, he's got the slipstream here. He's not coming up to the back of his bumper because he wants to get that great exit off of 1.
I want the our drivers have some slipstreams here. You can see on your screen is the battle shaping up here. This is around 7 on back. Evan now the lead car. Maxon trying to give him a shot. That is a way you can save fuel. Molina Man late braking as well as the third car in the group. That is where Beard also cycled out in the top 10. Beard though is looking for 9th. That time Man just lets the driver on go. The Excite Racing machine with the red roll bars up to P9 now. And last time again was when Beard came out the pit lane with a 3:07 time. Maxon and Evan against this group. P2 is also having a bump draft a bit as Ari Lomi, it looks like, is trying to save a bit of fuel with Hartley working their way down the Morian sweep into turn 5 and heading towards turn 6 once more. And it looks like, I wouldn't be surprised here, John, if Ari Lomi waits until the last possible moment if he wants the pass for second on the podium.
Yeah, we just talked about that. I think that's exactly what he's doing. You could see him pull up right up to the back of Hartley, but he also has to be cognizant of Fernandez that's on his back bumper who's coming up.
Yeah, and remember, Fernandez actually lost time before. And now Fernandez has got the opportunity from all this, his patience, or so to speak, a little bit of the way the pace is picked and shuffled at the front of that group, to get back inside the draft. The Elf-sponsored machine falls on by and works its way through the kink this time. Looks like, though, Fernandez is still pretty quick. Out of the drivers in that grouping, he ran a 2:33.6, just a couple tenths off those front two. As it looks like the front two nearly had a side-by-side. Ari Lomi thought better of it again through Canada Corner.
You know, it's interesting because Ari Lomi, he had the worst pit stop of this entire field with a 52.2 second. So for him to be there in third battling Hartley right now is amazing and a testament to his driving.
It definitely, I think, is for sure. And again, one of the strongest performances of Nico's season so far. And now has again a shot at second place. Still being patient though, following along inside the draft. The gap is now 8.6 seconds, so it is going down on Marcelo. They're actually quicker by 7/10 a second now to nearly a full 1.2 seconds a lap. But that is still a massive amount of time, even with this massive racetrack.
It's going to be interesting to see Fernandez here going down the Marine sweep, if he can catch up to both Arvarami and Hartley here.
Yep, right now. Talk about, though, Kip Stevens. Kip Stevens is holding on to a top 5 right now. This would be Kip's best run. Sabola in a best position for one of their best finishes of the year in 6th. Beard, again, is now moving for 7th spot just behind them. So a lot of drivers that have had some rough seasons are finding their way into good paying points positions as you still follow along with that lead group. Should note Beard has just made the pass for 7th on Clifford Eben.
You talked about Marcelo. He is, these guys are actually catching him. You're right, Justin. With another lap and a half to 2 laps, these 3 drivers could catch Pagenin.
But again, it's 8 seconds, though. So if you're the drivers in this group, what do you do to keep on trying to chug along forward? Because it is still a massive, there's still a chance, but it's a massive amount of time they have to follow. As this is all going on, again, as mentioned, Beard is up to 7th spot. And remember, Beard has the least amount of fuel, basically, in the entire field of the drivers in the top 10. Stretched it as long as Beard could in that tank. And now Eben's actually going to give a bump draft to the back end. Working their way through the kettle bottoms towards Canada Corner. Drivers lined up, single file, 3 cars along the train. As Eben takes the earliest of the braking out of the 3 drivers and actually loses ground to the back end of Beard. And this group's actually having the chance to reel in a top 5 finishing position. Stevens and Sabala are right up the road. And John, that looked like a bit of a rough third sector that time by. And it looks like there might be Mann having to come in the fuel. Yes, Mann didn't take enough fuel, so the top 10 driver of Mann has to come down for a second pit stop.
Oh, that's a costly mistake that, well, it's going to affect the ultimate finish of this race to even get a top 20.
Second place, meanwhile, still stays in the focus. The gap has narrowed down by 1.3 more seconds. 7.2 is now the gap. Working their way down the Moraine sweep. And this is the sections where they're gaining the most time. Because Ari Lomi is being patient here and trying to help the rest of this group and not trying to force the issue, they've been able to reel in a ton of time in these straightaway parts of the track. The question is, though, again, will they make them in time? Under 5 minutes on the clock, 2.5 estimated laps to go to try and catch up to the Italian racer.
Yeah, when they come by to the start-finish line, they're going to get 2 laps to go here. So Arvar Lamy, he's got to make his move, and Fernandez has got to be there to help him push him down that straightaway.
Now here's the thing, will Fernandez want to play safely behind the driver on board with? Because Fernandez, mind you, has been the fastest now in the group with that draft. It's going to get a little curious to see what they do here. Again, this is a 3-car train. They've broken away from the rest of the grouping. The next big draft group, again, is now that 5th on back battle we were referring to, John.
Yeah, let's see what they do here going through the kink and setting up for Canada Corner. I don't think that the 85 car is going to make a move going into Canada Corner just yet. I think he's going to wait till after turn 1 and possibly the Marine sweep.
No, he's going to go now, in fact. It looks like he said, we're not going to catch him. Hartley lets him go. Ari Lomi takes the lead position of the group into 2nd overall on the track. Now the question is, can Ari Lomi keep up on it? This is what Marcelo, though, needed to have happen. These drivers to fight to lose time because they lost all the time they gained in that one sector. They have dropped from what was a near 6-second gap, closing down in that range, back to 7.3 this time by at the stripe. 2 laps to go.
Well, we see Fernandez here getting that strong draft. We got Hartley pushing the leader or the 2nd place car right now. Fernandez wants to be his own man.
Take a look at this now. This is going to be from the cockpit now of the 26 machine. Fernandez watching the battle shape up for the 2nd step on the podium. Lots of points on the line for drivers. Hartley potentially needing the set points with the pressure for the championship. They work their way now back through turn number 3 with 2:40 to go on the clock. P6 is also shuffling along. The group has closed to what was 2 to now 4+ cars. Beard wants to get by Stevens. Eben trying to help Stevens, in fact, on the right side of the track. The Excite Racing machine on the inside. They're trying to also reel in Sabala. Lap traffic down to the bottom side. Michael Valls nearly comes to a full stop to stay out of the way of the corner apex. That, however, hurt Beard on the corner exit. And Beard lost at least a couple car lengths off that exit because of the fear of going 3 wide with the left car right in the middle of the preferred apex, John.
Yeah, this battle through 2nd through 4th here, and they're now going through the carousel. Arvalami, he is just holding back for Hartley to get to his rear bumper as to not get a run to go into Canada Corner.
Right now, the drivers have passed by the Johnsonville Bridge and working through the way the carousel. The drivers you see on your screen. Sabala's pulled away now by 10 car lengths, give or take, from Stevens, Beard, Eben, and Maxson. P2 is also now still shuffling that 3-car battle. Look on board with Hartley as he tries to find his way around Arlie Lomi, coming towards the white flag this upcoming time by. Arlie Lomi able to defend this time through Canada Corner. And it looks like they might stay this way. The question is, Will it keep that way at the exit of the Road America Straight? 1 minute to go on the clock. They'll have a lap to go this time by here for round 5 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. Arby Lomi trying to play defense and trying to hold on to the second step of the podium in the 85 machine for off-track racing. The Excite Racing machine of Hartley drops the back bumper, cuts to the right side. Looks side by side with the Continental sponsored machine.
There's Fernandez. He's going to follow Hartley going into 1, Justin.
Hartley working with Fernandez. Hartley, can he get clear? Late break from the outside line. Arby Lomi can't keep it there. Cuts to the grass. Hartley now forced to a side-by-side. He had a bad corner exit out of 1. They head their way towards the next best drafting section, down the Moriane sweep. Hartley trying to give him the squeeze, but the better run again, Arby Lomi. He's got Fernandez now. Why not help him? Fernandez gave the bump draft that time. Arby Lomi side by side as the headlights turn on at Road America. Nighttime is the right time. Who's going to take advantage of the nighttime lights? Hartley, high side, bad corner exit. Arby Lomi, cars colliding around the track. They keep on going. They're bumping and banging for fifth on back, while Arby Lomi fights hard in a side-by-side scrap with Hartley, working their way through the hurry downs.
Great driving by these two guys not to collect each other.
Arby Lomi taking the bottom side once more. Hartley brakes early, tries to diamond down the exit. Can't go for the crossover. They have lost about a second and a half plus from Marcel Pejnon from all this. But again, they're fighting for as many points as they can get in their hands. Arby Lomi coming his way through the kink, trying to play defense as Fernandez tries to find a run to get by Hartley. Remember the pass.
Get through the kink there perfectly. We see Hartley on the outside trying to take it going into Canada corner.
Side by side, this has been where drivers have been looking to make the passes, especially in the late going. Hartley, high side, worked through Canada corner. Arby Lomi tried to squeeze him off the track as they continue to scrap. As this is on, Fernandez continues to fight hard for the position. Marcel Pejnon coming up the Road America Straight will take the checker flag and win. He will come away with round number 5's victory here at Road America by a startling margin of 8.7 seconds, while Robert Hartley able to move his way to second step on the podium at the checker flag.
A little argy-bargy here for third.
In the argy-bargy, it's Fernandez side by side who gets the final step of the podium with third. Arby Lomi comes away fourth. Fifth spot goes to Sabala. Beard sixth. Eben in seventh. Maxson in 8th. Rivard, the next car back, about 10 seconds behind for position 9th. But Anthony Burrows, with one of his first points-paying finishes of the year, comes across the stripe of the top 10. Natashik in 11th spot, with Alex Moss on his own in 12th. A lot of our drivers single file. Kip Stevens, remember, was amongst that driver battle. Looks like he had trouble on the last lap, was in 5th. 21st is crazy, though, with cars going off in the ground. Multiple drivers door baiting for 21st. Powell Samanek had already made contact this lap with Rasmussen. Rasmussen will take that spot. Samanek comes away 20th. Rasmussen in 19th. While Powell Kowalik crashes before the start and finish line into 33. So the driver who was in 22nd, coming to the white, is stuck in the track with major suspension problem. This is unfortunate here for Powell. He doesn't even get the chance to finish here, John.
Yeah, that's a tough break. He got collected there. Well, I say collected. He got booted on that turn 14 incident, and yeah, his car looked like a bicycle when it was done.
When our car is ready to come across the stripe, 27th place, Luis Morga didn't report a qualifying time, will be the last driver on the lead lap to take the checker flag here in a crazy. But with that, we'll take a step aside, but stick around. The minus 273 post-race show is coming up right up. After these messages, you're watching the Global Sim Racing channel from North America. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel's coverage of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. The minus 273 post-race show. Whether it's the real track of the Birch, minus 273 has one goal in mind: to produce the best racing gloves to get the job done with unmatched comfort, durability, and style. Their gloves will leave your old ones in the dust. Find out how they can help you by visiting minus273.biz. But that leads us straight directly into the turning point, because this was an absolutely wild race, multiple different possibilities for the turning point presented by Turn Racing today. But I think the biggest of them was the incident again between Fazuli and Hartley, because that really shook things up and how the race turned out to the checkered.
Yeah, it really did, Justin. That was, we kind of written Hartley off there in the beginning stages, but what a great recovery for him, not only for a second place finish, but a great points day as well.
Absolutely, recovering to second place on the track. Turning point. That's your turning point presented by Turn Racing. Marks the gap between sim sport and motorsport with Turn Racing. Turn carries a wide variety of steering wheels to suit any and all of your needs. From advanced sim racing wheels to practical street wheels, they'll surely have something for you. Check them out at turnracing.com. With that, it's time to take a look at your finishing results. Again, these are unofficial results for today's action. Marcel Pagnon comes away with the checkered flag by 8.5 seconds. He took the undercut, and it worked out in better ways than I think he expected, the Italian driver, for the checkered flag today. Robert Hartley came away with second on that recovery drive. Fernandez, the pole sitter, came away in third, with Arby Lomi in fourth. Sabala finished fifth, with Clifford Eben in the seventh spot. Ashley Beard went from 21st to 7th at the time of the checkered flag. Stayed the longest out on the track, took the least amount of fuel. Able to come away with the top 10. Tyler Maxson in 8th, with Rivard and Anthony Burrows rounding up the top 10 finishing positions here, John.
In 11th, we have Marislo Nastalistic. In 12th, Alex Moss. Alan Cattell in 13th. Nick Carty in 14th. Shane Sullivan in 15th. Martin in 16th. Brian Sobelski coming home in 17th tonight. Melina Mann, unfortunately, coming home in 18th after that fuel incident. And we have Teho Rizananen in 19th. Pal Seisminek coming home in 20th position.
Kako came away 21st with a Paulding 22nd. Seeger finishes in front of James Koulibaly, who had a quiet day, 37th to 24th. From 42nd to 25th, though, was Luis Morga, who had a heck of a drive from the back of the field. And that brings us to the drivers a lap down. Kip Stevens mentioned, looks like he was the driver, punted off the track, heading out of the Marine sweep into turn 5. Instead of a top 5, he will come away 26. Again, 15th on back, non-points main positions. Paolo Kalinick, 27. Peter Vostro in 28th. Michael Valls, 29th. With Jakub Wajderka in 30th position.
31st, we have Fabian Ponce, Christian Lindroth in 32nd, Jane Terhue in 33rd, Peter Wesch in 34th, and 35th, Max Brady, 36th, Lyndon Swaby, Bob Cunningham in 37th, Risam Fazul at 38th, and Juan Damas Torres in 39th. Christian Mickle coming home in 40th position.
Rest of the drivers, 2 did not make the grid in Hunting Girls, but the drivers that finished at the end of the order, Donovan Strauss made it only a couple laps, 13 laps down. Owen Watts, 14 down at the checker flag. That's a look at your finishing results for round number 5. But the man who conquered them all, Marcel Pajon, taking the checker flag by 8+ seconds, trying the undercut move. A very interesting call. In fact, the Italian driver is standing by here with us now. Marcelo, in very good win today and a good strategy call, I think, today. Talk us through.
Yeah, hi guys. As you already mentioned, two things worked very well for me. The undercut, for sure, that was a smart move because I saw a lot of hungry hungry drivers behind. So I decided to enter before all the other drivers, and that worked. And was yeah, it was smart. And then I was lucky on the second thing you mentioned, the touch between Racima and Robert. So I was yeah lucky on that episode, but I think I was driving fast and clean, and also the lap traffic wasn't an issue, so it ended very well.
It definitely did finish very well. What was why did you decide to go down for the undercut? I know you mentioned in part the hungry drivers behind you, but it was we were not expecting that pit stop about 10, 11 laps into the race. Why did you decide to try and see if that strategy would work?
Because I saw behind some, let me say, newcomers on in the front, at the front of the top of the race. So I know that lacking some experience, it means that you try some dive, some hard braking, and it's only effect of losing time. So I put a bet on that, and so I did my undercut.
With this also gets you back in the championship conversation. Coming into today, you're more than 20 points plus back. Now you're just 16 back and have your second race victory of the season, your first at Mount Panorama. As we head to the second half of the season, your thoughts on how the championship's shaking out and trying to keep up with the two-time champion Robert Hartley.
Oh, I think that Rob will win his first championship in a row because he's smarter and faster than me. But I'm here to enjoy, to make you enjoy and a good show. So I don't care about the final position.
Either way, you're looking in a good shape for the rest of the season, one of the top contenders. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your victory?
Yeah, like always, a big thank to my team, Asbury Motorsport, and for this race, big thanks to Clifford Aben because he really helped me on my quality lap. Sometimes I'm weak on that on that part. So thank you, Cliff, and thank you.
Congratulations on your second race victory of the season, Marcel.
Bye. See you.
That was Marcel Paginon coming away with the race victory today. It was a heck of a drive from Robert Hartley as well. He was in that lead group before the window, and then a Dukes of Hazzard moment happened to his right. He was still able to get back to said second. John Ambrose is standing by with Robert.
Robert Hartley starting third today, finishing second, but boy, not without a hard drive and a lot of effort for him. Robert, congratulations on your second finish. Tell us how the race went for you.
Oh, that was wild, man. I said the same thing about the Dukes of Hazzard move in the chat, but I was just, biding my time. Got toward the front, had a mistake, and fell back a little bit. Started saving some fuel. Then everybody started pitting, and I was going to fake the pit like I did so I could stay out and run hot laps by myself. And Racine saw the fake, and I think he wanted to stay with me and so we could draft together, and he just made a bad move there. But luckily, I was able to keep going, got it spun around, and just tried to do the best I could and come back and got second. Marcelo was long gone.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Coming out of 14, obviously there were people pitting, there was a fake. You stayed out. Um, that actually was probably the turning point for you because you did not pit. You were able to go in and pit that next lap by, and then obviously you got a new car as well. Is that correct?
I didn't really have much damage, so I didn't take the fast repair. So I just filled up the fuel and kept going.
Well, what started out with Uncle Jesse, you ended up with Daisy Duke there on the podium. Robert, anybody you want to thank for this evening?
I'd like to thank Clifford for making Big C's happen and GSRC for putting on the broadcast.
All right, the Carolina driver starting third, coming home second. Robert, as we round up here, how do you feel going into Brands Hatch? Robert, going into Brands Hatch, how do you feel?
I feel good about Brands Hatch. That's a good track for me. A little bit of draft, not a whole lot, so maybe we can keep it up toward the front. I'd like to say that was also a good race for second there at the end between Nico and Juan and myself.
Well, I would agree. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later, sir.
Thanks, guys.
That's Robert Hartley. Justin, you've caught up with our third place finisher.
Actually, sixth place finisher Clifford Eben coming away with a top 10 finish today. Joins us here in the broadcast booth 14 seconds back. Clifford, a interesting battle for you as well for that sixth spot on the racetrack. Talk us through that battle in the closing stages of today's race.
It was definitely very intense. I just waited for some mistakes on behalf of Tyler and Kip there at the end, and it got me in prime position to take the draft off of Ashley up the straight, and just barely by 3 thousandths or something like that, get sixth spot. But I seem to have a thing with finishing 14 seconds back off of Marcelo because I did the same thing at Bathurst as well.
Yeah, I'm just checking back on the replay actually of that. Beard actually bobbled a bit to the left in that battle and headed towards the grass that helped get that 4/1000s there. But talk about the basically the difficulty to try and keep yourself calm and cool and clean in this one, because we've seen a lot of interesting moments, to say the very least, in some of the groups, including some of the OTR teammates crashing coming out of the kink today.
Just be patient. I know, like you said, there's a lot of rough racing going on, so wait for some mistakes and then wait for the opportunity to come. That was pretty much my strategy.
How difficult was it to keep up? I mean, to try and make some passes, though you had just +1 from your starting position on the grid today.
Well, for me, I went down quite a bit at 1st, and I just got lucky with other people's contacts that they had. Like you said, the off-track racing guys all getting taken out. Stuff like that allowed me to gain some spots. But it's tough. Despite it being a draft track, you've got this entire pack ahead of you who are all getting draft as well. So it's hard to get this monster run and pull out next to him and try to make a pass when everybody's going so fast. So, like I said, just kind of waiting for some mistakes to happen, I guess, and pass when I can.
Now, real quickly, we're heading to the second half of the season to Brands Hatch, for the next race. Your thoughts on the season as a whole as we head to the second half of the year?
I'm more than pleased with it. Lots of awesome racing, nice intense battles, and huge fields as well, the biggest that this league has ever had. It's just been awesome.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go here today?
Sure, I'd like to thank the league sponsors, GTR Simulator, SimRacing Studio, Turn Racing, and Minus 273. Also, my team, Asbury Motorsports, for all the support they give me. You guys for broadcasting, and also all the members in this league who have made it awesome to this halfway point.
Congratulations to the top 10 finish today here, Clifford.
Thank you very much.
Clifford Evan coming away in the 6th spot today in a photo finish with Ashley Beard. But it's time to close things on up here real quickly. Your final thoughts before we head off to the Sunset.
Well, this is the first event with you, Justin, as well as these Mazda MX-5s. I thought, going into this race, I didn't know what to expect, but what a great show that these drivers put on here at this big track at Road America. So really proud of the drivers that took to the wheel here, as well as working alongside with you and the smelly director, Sean Ambrose.
That's not a great thing to say to your brother. Either way, we'd like to thank GTR Simulator, SimRacing Studio, and Turn Racing, along with Minus 273, for sponsoring today's racing action, as well as the series title sponsor, Big C's. We'd also like to thank series organizer Clifford Evan for organizing what has been a crazy first half of the season. He mentioned the biggest fields they have seen in its 3-season history so far. We'd like to also thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, now listed up on your screen. With additional thanks to Jude Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of her great work. Thanks to the team once again today of John and Sean Ambrose. If you'd like to find out more about the Global Sim Racing Channel, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel in one word, or at Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so that you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As discussed with some of the failed drivers, the next race on the schedule for Big C's MX-5 Challenge heads to Brands Hatch Circuit. You can see that here on GSRC, starting once again at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That date is currently set up to be the first day of the month of September. We also have a lot of upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.